Hello students, in previous videos I have given the problems to solve on direct proportion problems. Here I am going to give you the indirect proportion problems or inverse problems. So wheel diameter and its RPM is the best example for inverse proportion. As the diameter of the wheel increases, the RPM of the wheel decreases. RPM of the wheel decreases. That means the speed is inversely proportional to diameter. Speed is inversely proportional to diameter. Take the problem. In the belt and pulley system, the diameter of larger and smaller wheels are 120 and 180 mm respectively. The larger dia is 120, smaller dia is 80. If the RPM of larger is 200, RPM is rotation per minute. Rotation per minute, we represent it N. N is equal to 200 in case of larger wheel. Find the N, that is smaller N, in case of smaller wheel. So we have the ratio equation with respect to diameter. D is to small d, capital D is to small d, equals, you may observe the change here. In the direct proportion, the first position comes with the capital number, second position comes with the smaller number in case of direct proportion. But in case of inverse proportion, the smaller number comes to first position and the capital number comes to second position. We have to be careful in writing the proportion equation in case of inverse proportion. So capital D given is 120, small d given is 80 mm, and the smaller wheel RPM is unknown, you can take it as X, and the larger RPM is 200. So just multiply 80 with X, 80 into X, keep it in the left side because X is the unknown one, equals 120 into 200 in the right hand side. So X becomes 120 into 200. By simple calculation we get the RPM of smaller wheel, that is X, 300 RPM. As we know, the diameter decreasing, the RPM is increasing. The larger wheel has having lesser RPM and smaller wheel is having higher RPM. That is the ratio that becomes inversely proportional. The speed is inversely proportional to diameter. We should be careful in writing the equation for inversely proportional problems. Let's take one more such example. In a belt and pulley system, RPM of larger and smaller wheel are 120 and 180. The RPM of larger wheel is 120 and smaller wheel is 180. If the diameter of larger wheel is 20 cm, capital D is 20 cm, find the diameter of small wheel. We have to find small d. As we know, the speed is inversely proportional to diameter. That means as diameter increases, speed decreases or RPM decreases. So we have to be careful in writing the equation of inverse proportion. Capital D is to small d equals small n is to capital N. You have to be careful in writing this type of equation in solving inverse proportional problems. So capital D is 20, small d we have to be calculated, and small n is 180 and capital N is 120. Just multiply the extremes, that is 180 into d becomes d into 180. Keep it in the left hand side of the equation because d is unknown, and 20 into 180, 120, keep it in the right hand side. Then diameter of the smaller wheel, by simple calculation we get 13.33 centimeter. So in this way we can solve the inverse proportional problems. We should be careful in writing the equation in case of inverse proportional problems. So in the next class let's take some more examples of different problems. So thank you, thanks for watching.